Thanks for joining us here for this tarot update for February 2025. We're going to pull a couple cards from a couple different decks. This is the Wild Unknown deck. We're going to pull a couple cards from this deck, and then we're going to pull one from the Moonology deck and one from the Mystical Shaman Oracle deck. If you celebrate Imbolc, happy Imbolc. For me, Imbolc is very much about new beginnings, new starts, and the energy of the East and dawn and the promise of new beginnings. So let's see what wants to come out. And we'll see how the cards come out. All right, I'm kind of liking this spread already. That card just keeps looking at me, so we're going to pull that one out. All right, so let's see when we put it all together what we've got here. So we're going to start with the Wheel of Fortune card in the upright position. And for me, this message is that as we sink into this new beginning, as we start the month of February and the coming alive again, the rebirth process, the energy starting to move out after the winter time, I think that we're going to see things fall into alignment for us. I think that we're going to find a deeper connection with the divine, with the universe, with God, with source energy, however it is that you say that. And I think that that's something that we really need to lean into right now, that this next chapter of our life is going to require us to be in deep connection with ourselves. It's going to require us to trust and surrender and have faith that there is a plan for us. And when we can get out of the resistance that we have to the plan, and I'm going to pause right there and say, I believe that the universe has a plan for everybody. And so frequently we're in resistance to that plan because we have our own plan in our mind. And when our own plan overrides what the universe is trying to show us and the path that the universe is trying to help us or support us with getting on, when we override our intuition, when we stop listening to that connection back with the divine and we start listening to our egoic mind that tells us that there's a pathway that our ego wants to take versus that which our soul wants to take. When we start listening to our egoic mind, that we can end up in a situation, I don't want to say that it's off of our path because it's all part of our path. There is no way to not be on our path. But when we can listen to our intuition and our connection with that which is bigger than us, that's where we find freedom. That's where we find peace. That's where we find ease. And I think that the struggle that we feel so frequently is in the spaces that we're in resistance to what the universe is trying to show us. And I very much feel the High Priestess card in reverse means that we might not be listening to our intuition right now. We might not be trusting. We might not be in a state of surrender. And so as you lean into the month of February, I just want to remind you to lean into your connection with the divine. I think that if you are leaning into your egoic energy or your egoic state of being, that there's going to be struggle. And if you want to have more ease, more freedom, more peace in your life, I think that that is going to come when you trust, when you surrender. Even if you can't understand where it is that the universe is trying to bring you, if you trust that there is a plan. There is a plan there for you. The universe or God has a plan for you. Even if we can't understand it. But we stay in a state of surrender and trust. That is where we're really going to see ease and peace and freedom. Even if it doesn't make sense on paper. I think that we are going to struggle to see, both of these cards were in the reverse position. And to me, the Two of Wands and the High Priestess together in a reverse position says that in the month of February, we might not trust surrender. We might not trust the divine. We might not trust source energy. We might not trust God. We might not trust the universe. And when we can trust, I think that we are going to receive in the form of people and experiences and blessings. And so it's really just this reminder to surrender to the divine. And I would invite you to have some structure. The Emperor card for me, whenever I see the Emperor, it's a reminder to create structure around my psychic hygiene practice, around my connection back to the universe. So maybe we need to make sure that we're scheduling time for meditation, that we're scheduling time for journaling, that we're scheduling time for yoga or art or whatever it is that connects you back to the divine. And when we keep some structure around that, when we have a practice built into our reality about connecting and listening and hearing and receiving, we're going to receive on a much larger level. And I think that if we can sink into that, if we can sink into surrender, the shadow card it's interesting. It's the surrender to the divine in the reverse position. So that's our shadow, which to me goes along very much with the High Priestess and the Two of Wands in reverse, right? So for me, the message really here is to trust ourselves and trust our connection back with the universe, back with God, back with source energy, back with the divine. And we might feel like, this is another shadow card, it might feel like we've done all of our work and, we've been working hard. We've been leaning into personal development. We've been leaning into spirituality. We've been leaning into law of attraction. We've been leaning into manifesting. And sometimes we feel like, hey, I've done all this work and I have nothing to show for it. And it's not true, right? That's our ego speaking. And when we can recognize that this human experience is a beautiful journey, it's a journey inwards, into ourselves, into our connection with the divine, into surrender, into trust, into faith. And when we can access that and we're unapologetic about it, I think that all sorts of things are going to open up in our reality. And we got the card, out of the Moonology deck here, we got the card, it is a time to give rather than receive, right? And so to me, when I feel into that card, it feels like it is a time for us to be with the truth of our authenticity and our uniqueness. There's only one of you. And the universe made you exactly the way that you were meant to be. And the unique frequency that you sit in is medicine for the world. And when you can be unapologetic about your authenticity, about your uniqueness, about what makes you different from everyone else, the unique way that you were put together is medicine for the world. And when you give that medicine, when you give the medicine of authenticity, when you are unafraid of who you are, even when it doesn't make sense to other people, but when you stand in that authenticity, when you stand in that uniqueness, when you're unapologetic about who you are and what you're here to do in this human experience, when you're really present with that, it is medicine for other people. Other people will witness that, and it might give them the invitation, the nudge, the encouragement to lean into their authenticity, to lean into their uniqueness. We're not all meant to be the same, right? We are each a unique snowflake. There is no other snowflake like you. There is no one else that carries and embodies the exact frequency of who you are. And because we are so often trying to be somebody other than us, we're trying to be what culture said we should be, what society says we should be, what our family of origin says we should be, what church or spirituality says we should be, then we don't stand in the frequency of who we are. And other people can't receive the medicine of who we are. But when we are unapologetic about being us, the way that we see the world and the way that we move through the world and the way that we engage with the world, there's a ripple effect that happens. It's a permission slip for other people to lean into their authenticity and uniqueness. And so when I think about it's a time to give rather than take, it is a time to be you. It is a time to give your unique frequency the medicine of who you are. Whether that is in the form of poetry, whether that is in the form of parenting, whether that is in the form of writing a song or creating art or coaching or mentoring or leaning into your spirituality and what that means to you. Leading into your religion, what that means for you. When you lean into you and you give that to the world, when you give that to this earth, when you give that to the other humans who are on the earth at this time with you, when you are giving freely of the frequency of who you are, you will receive in the most beautiful way. When you stand in the frequency of who you are, the people who are meant for you, the blessings that are meant for you, the experiences that are meant for you can find you. And that's one of the reasons that authenticity is the highest frequency that we can embody when we're here in the human experience, is because through law of attraction, if you stand in the frequency of who you are, of authenticity, and you're not trying to be anybody else, you're just allowing your frequency to lead your life, then the things that are at that same frequency can find you. The people, the blessings, the experiences, they can find you. And you become magnetic. And it is such an empowering energy to sit in. Not just for you, but for the world. And so I think that card to me really says, allow your unique frequency to lead. It's a time to give the frequency of who you are, whatever that looks like. And we got the rainbow card out of the Mystical Shaman Oracle deck, and this is such a stunning card. The rainbow symbolizes the 7 steps of a true spiritual path, which manifest as the colors of the 7 chakras. In the Himalayas, the rainbow body is seen as the full realization of our essence. The rainbow also represents the bridge between the physical and the spiritual world. At the end of our lives, we can journey across the rainbow bridge to the highest heavenly realms. When the rainbow appears, it is the affirmation that all is well and that you are in the right relationship with spirit. Very much what we were saying in the beginning of this reading. The invitation. The rainbow tells you that at the end of the storm is near. Persevere and remember that in the darkest, just before the dawn. Do not give up hope. Things are about to take a positive turn. Listen to the morning rooster that announces the coming of the dawn, even while the night is still darkest. But do not claim victory yet, or let your guard down fully. The medicine. Don't get caught up in the pursuit of illusion of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Find the treasure now, in the moment, by coming into right relationship with those around you. All your gifts are at hand, so obvious you may have missed them. Be true with your intentions and do not be led astray by daydreaming. And I think that message really brings in all the pieces of this reading. In the month of February for 2025, it is about allowing the frequency of who you are to lead your life. Give that freely. And that connection that you have back with the spirit realm, back with source energy, the divine, the universe, God, nature. When you get right with that, when you get right with who you are, and you're unapologetic about your authenticity, and you're unafraid of who you are, and you're unafraid of allowing who you are to lead your life, everything is going to fall into place. And you are going to receive far more than you are going to give when you stand in the frequency of you. Thanks for joining us here for the month of February 2025 Tarot Message.